The chamber was built to impress gods who no longer existed, rings of gold and mirrored crystals spiraling toward a ceiling lost in light. At the center of that sanctified arrogance stood Ambassador Evelyn Carter, one hand resting on the smooth surface of a data scroll, the other casually stirring a cup of coffee that seemed to offend the entire Galactic Council. Steam curled upward, defiant against the sterile air. Her reflection shimmered in the glass floor, a lone human shadow surrounded by scaled, feathered and silicon faces that measured her as though she were some curious animal who had learned to speak. "Let us commend the Human Integration Initiative," declared the High Consul of the Empire, a creature of angles and translucence, voice filtered through artificial resonance. "Earth has proven unexpectedly compliant." A ripple of approval passed around the amphitheater. Evelyn smiled, the kind that said nothing and meant everything. Compliant. She turned the word over in her mind like a knife hidden under a dinner napkin. The consul continued. "In just 3 lunar cycles, they've provided labor for our expansion fleets, resource colonies, even planetary restoration zones. Efficient, tireless, obedient, remarkable for primitives who only recently discovered faster-than-light travel." Evelyn raised her cup slightly, as though to toast. "We aim to please," she said. The translator rendered her tone as neutral, missing the irony entirely. Several alien delegates leaned forward, intrigued by the human ritual of hot beverages. A scaled ambassador from the Talak Dominion tilted his head. "You still ingest stimulants during diplomacy? Curious. Perhaps that explains your unpredictable emotional spectrum." "Oh, this," she swirled the dark liquid, "keeps me civil." Laughter, uneasy, uncertain, echoed through the hall. To them, she was exotic, a curiosity preserved by treaty and tolerance. To her, they were predators mistaking a mirror for prey. A hologram flickered to life above the dais, showing thousands of humans in gray worksuits operating machines across alien worlds. Their smiles looked genuine, their movements disciplined. "Our experts say the human mind responds favorably to structured subservience," said the consul. "They even sing during labor." "How quaint." Evelyn's eyes softened, her lips parting just enough for a breath that could have been sorrow or amusement. "We've always found rhythm helps us work through difficult times." The consul misunderstood the undertone and preened. "Indeed. You have potential. The Empire's guidance will elevate your species beyond barbarism." "Of course," she replied sweetly. "Though you may find we've learned a few lessons from barbarism." The translation smoothed away the threat. Her words landed as gratitude. Behind her composure, Evelyn recalled the images Earth's satellites once transmitted. Cities burning beneath foreign suns, humans herded into orbiting employment zones, their laughter mistaken for submission. The Empire had come not with weapons but with contracts, offering protection in exchange for service, slavery rewritten as opportunity. Humanity signed, bled, adapted, and waited. A smaller alien, insectal and meticulous, approached the podium. "Ambassador Carter," he chirped. "You are to finalize the next phase, distribution of human units to frontier sectors." "Units," she repeated, setting the cup down gently. "An efficient word." The insectal one clicked uncertainly. "It's the official classification." "I understand." She pressed her thumb to the scroll. The contract shimmered with the seal of Earth's provisional government, a puppet council that answered to her voice alone. "All approved." The consul beamed, or at least simulated the gesture. "Excellent. History will remember this as the moment humanity joined the civilized stars." Evelyn inclined her head. "History has a selective memory, Your Excellency." An aide leaned toward the consul, whispering. "Reports indicate minor disturbances among the human labor groups. Increased productivity but also unusual coordination." "Coordination?" The consul scoffed. "They are simple creatures. I have read their literature, entire libraries about love, regret, and cooking. Hardly the material of strategists." Evelyn smiled again. "We do have a way of multitasking." The aide persisted. "Some humans have begun constructing devices not on their assigned lists." The consul waved a jeweled hand. "Probably tools for comfort." They're sentimental. Yes, Evelyn murmured. We do build comfort out of strange things. For a moment, silence filled the chamber. The hum of translation matrices faded. Evelyn studied the alien faces, beaks, mandibles, photonic lenses, all gleaming with the confidence of those who believed in their own permanence. She wondered how they would sound when that confidence cracked. The consul turned to her. Ambassador, the Empire appreciates your cooperation. In return, we offer Earth a protectorate status. No wars. No hunger. Only peace. Evelyn looked up at the radiant ceiling, where light disguised the absence of stars. Peace is a lovely word, she said softly, though we humans tend to define it differently each century. The consul misread her introspection as humility. Your species will thrive under our supervision. Her gaze drifted to the hologram of smiling workers again. Each wore an identical bracelet, a so-called compliance band transmitting telemetry back to Imperial servers. The Empire saw those signals as proof of control. Evelyn saw them as a network map. Her sleeve hid a matching band, modified long ago. Beneath its surface pulsed microdata signals invisible to alien scanners. Every heartbeat she took whispered to millions across light years, patience. She straightened. On behalf of Earth, I thank the Empire for its hospitality. Hospitality, the consul repeated approvingly. Evelyn bowed slightly. We humans do take note of how our hosts treat us. The chamber filled with polite applause. The session adjourned. Delegates drifted away, wings rustling, circuits humming. Evelyn remained, finishing her coffee as though time itself had slowed for her amusement. An aide approached, a young alien diplomat barely out of hatchling phase, eyes bright with curiosity. Ambassador, he said hesitantly, may I ask something personal? Of course. Do humans ever resent serving others? She studied him for a long moment. Resentment, she said, is just an early form of planning. The aide blinked, unsure whether that was humor or confession. Evelyn smiled, not unkindly. But don't worry. We serve well. It's what we do best before we lead. He nodded uncertainly, retreating toward the exits. When the hall finally emptied, the echo of alien footsteps faded into stillness. Evelyn tapped her bracelet once. In distant colonies, miners paused mid-swing, engineers looked up from their consoles, and captains of labor barges received silent pings only they could feel. Across the stars, a rhythm synchronized, steady, patient, human. She lifted her gaze to the great imperial emblem hovering above the dais. Its perfect symmetry reflected the same flaw she'd seen in every empire: faith in permanence. Compliant, she whispered, almost tenderly. That's one word for it. The lights dimmed for evening cycle, the vast chamber sinking into silver twilight. Evelyn set down her empty cup and turned toward the exit, her reflection merging with the dark floor. From the shadows, a single voice broke the hush, an alien technician who hadn't left yet. Ambassador Carter, he called nervously. Our surveillance systems detected an odd signal from your world. Should we investigate? Evelyn paused at the doorway, her silhouette framed by the fading light. Oh, that, she said gently. Just a transmission from home. What does it say? She smiled without looking back. It says, we remember. And with that, she walked away, leaving behind the faint scent of coffee, and the first tremor of unease that would one day shake the stars. The mines of Vorkith Prime were supposed to be the safest in the Empire, fully automated, self-regulated, idiot-proof. Yet somehow, the humans had found a way to make them hum. Not the sound of machines, the sound of people. Rhythmic, coordinated, alive. The alien overseers didn't know what unnerved them more: the humans' tireless productivity, or their habit of singing while doing it. Down in the black tunnels, their voices carried through the steel ribs of the colony, rising and falling like tides. Hi-ho, one group sang, hammering or to the beat. Another answered from deeper in the shaft with a low chant about working for the man. The aliens didn't understand the lyrics, but they understood the tone, playful, mocking, and far too synchronized for comfort. Supervisor Threx adjusted his neural lenses, watching rows of humans swing pickaxes with near-mechanical rhythm. Their sweat gleamed like oil under ultraviolet lights. He frowned. The Empire had calculated that humans would break after 20 cycles of continuous labor. They'd been working 60 and were still smiling. A woman in a dirt-streaked jumpsuit leaned on her tool and grinned up at him. "Need a hand, boss?" she asked, her voice light but her gaze assessing. Threx felt his throat tighten. "Continue your assigned function," he ordered stiffly. She winked, muttering something to her crew that made them laugh. The laughter wasn't normal. It wasn't the cracked hysteria of slaves. It was the laughter of soldiers in disguise. Reports like this multiplied across the Empire. On shipyards, on ice colonies, in agricultural moons, the humans were thriving under oppression. They reorganized supply lines, optimized work rotations, and formed cultural committees that hosted coffee breaks, which no alien dared interrupt. Soon, entire outposts ran on human-made schedules more efficient than imperial models. At the Central Command Hub on Keeler Station, Admiral Voss Drax slammed a clawed fist against the table. "They are slaves, not administrators," he roared. "How are they outperforming trained units?" Evelyn Carter's voice answered over the hololink, smooth as silk and twice as dangerous. "We humans tend to get restless, Admiral. When someone gives us a job, we like to make it our own." Voss narrowed his eyes. "You sound proud." "Oh, we are. Pride keeps the hands steady." He leaned closer to the projection. "Your species' arrogance is unbecoming. The Council expected obedience, not innovation." "Obedience and innovation often overlap," she replied with a small smile. "History just decides which word to use afterward." The Admiral snorted, cutting the connection. Yet his unease lingered. He'd reviewed the surveillance footage. Humans exchanging glances too sharp, gestures too deliberate. Their smiles weren't submission. They were signals. Back on Vorkith Prime, Threx conducted an inspection with military precision. He paused by a line of humans welding containment frames. Each wore the Empire's compliance band, pulsing green with supposed control. But today, he noticed the pulses sinking, not to the Empire's rhythm, but to the humans' hammer strikes. "What are you doing?" he barked. A young man looked up, goggles glinting. "Just keeping tempo," he said cheerfully. "Tempo for what?" "For everything, sir." Threx's translator sputtered, unsure if that was humor. At dusk, when the machines powered down, the humans gathered near the mess hall, a place reeking of industrial rations. Yet somehow, they'd turned it into a community center. Someone had painted murals on the walls, constellations seen from Earth, a blue planet wrapped in clouds, a flag fluttering above it all. A massive worker named Cole stirred a pot of synthetic stew and raised a spoon toward a nervous alien guard. "Want a taste?" The guard hissed, repulsed. "You eat together?" Cole shrugged. "Makes the food better." Laughter rippled again. Threx observed from the shadows, his lenses recording every detail. When he transmitted the footage to Imperial intelligence, their response was simple: allow them their delusions of morale. It improves yield. But something deeper stirred beneath the surface. Humans began asking for tools to fix power conduits or repair sensors, subtly stockpiling materials. Engineers built small devices they called comfort modules, tiny spheres that pulsed faint blue. The aliens dismissed them as trinkets. One evening, Evelyn arrived on Vorkith under diplomatic pretext. Her shuttle touched down amidst a line of bowed alien officers, all pretending not to notice the workers who stopped to watch her. She stepped out, immaculate in a gray uniform, her expression warm and unreadable. Threx approached. "Ambassador, the humans have been unusually spirited." She smiled. "Spirit's hard to suppress. You'd have to kill it outright." He didn't like the way she said kill. She toured the mines, complimented the output, asked gentle questions about worker happiness. Her mere presence transformed the humans' behavior. More smiles, more jokes, more unity. When she left that night, the tunnels hummed with renewed purpose. As her shuttle ascended, Cole leaned toward his crewmates. You think she's proud of us? The woman beside him grinned. She's waiting. For what? For the right note to drop. Above them, Evelyn stared through the viewport, watching the blue-white lights of the mining colony pulse like a heartbeat. She tapped her bracelet once. The signal echoed across multiple colonies, subtle enough to hide beneath background radiation. In its wake, machines shifted modes, data streams rerouted, and hidden subroutines awakened in human-built terminals. Back on Keeler Station, Admiral Voss's console beeped with new reports. Unusual production spikes in human sectors, his aide read aloud. Efficiency up 40%. Voss's frown deepened. 40? That's not improvement. That's intention. He opened one file marked, Earth Origin Artifacts. Inside were schematics, modifications made to Imperial equipment using human improvisation. The designs were clever, elegant, and unsettlingly militarized. He slammed the datapad shut. Get me Carter. Moments later, her face flickered onto his screen. Calm. Professional. Infuriating. Admiral, she greeted. Voss's mandibles clicked. You're building weapons in our factories. Am I? Don't lie. Our analysts found energy cores and propulsion modules in unauthorized configurations. Evelyn tilted her head. Could be misunderstanding. Humans do love tinkering. Explain this, he snapped, sending an image. Massive orbital structures disguised as refineries. She studied it. Lovely symmetry. You people truly appreciate efficiency. You're evading the question. I'm sipping tea, she said, lifting her cup into view. Perhaps you should try it. Helps with tension. His claws dug into the desk. Do you know what happens to species that defy the Empire? Evelyn's tone softened, dangerously so. Do you know what happens to those who mistake kindness for weakness? Voss froze. For a moment, her human warmth vanished, replaced by something ancient and cold. Then she smiled again, as if she hadn't just threatened galactic annihilation. We're still learning your customs, Admiral. Patience, yes. Before he could reply, the connection terminated. That night, across the Empire's colonies, humans gathered for their usual coffee breaks. They sat in circles, cups steaming, laughter echoing. Yet each conversation followed a rhythm. Call and response, word and signal, joke and code. Tomorrow, whispered one. Tomorrow, answered the rest. On Vorkith Prime, Threx lay awake, troubled by a sound that shouldn't exist. The heartbeat of the mind still pulsing long after shutdown, faint and steady, in perfect time with the human song. He turned off his sensors, trying to sleep. But somewhere in the dark, a woman's voice drifted up from the tunnels, soft, melodic, and far too human. We're almost ready, she sang. Just a few more days. And though he didn't understand the words, Threx shivered, sensing something vast and patient beneath them, like a storm pretending to be wind. The first accident happened on the morning of the Solstice Parade, an event meant to celebrate peaceful integration across the Empire. The Imperial flagship Radiant Dominion was broadcasting live as the parade ships formed their gleaming arc across the nebula. Every camera caught the moment the lead cruiser ignited into a starburst of light. Not an explosion, an awakening. Its engines flared white, then turned inward, collapsing the ship into itself. The shockwave didn't kill. It silenced. No one could explain it. In command chambers across the galaxy, panic spread like static. The official reports called it a malfunction in human-engineered systems. The unofficial whispers called it a warning. Ambassador Evelyn Carter didn't deny it. She didn't confirm it either. She simply appeared before the Galactic Council wearing the same calm expression she always had, sipping her inevitable cup of coffee. The incident was unfortunate, she said, her voice smooth, her tone almost sympathetic. But you know how it is. Humans build things to last, and sometimes they overperform. Her joke fell flat. No one laughed. The insectal aide from before, now pale under his translucent carapace, stammered. There are rumors, Ambassador, that your people have been coordinating across sectors. Evelyn set down her cup. Rumors are just information that hasn't been confirmed yet. Give it time. The consul leaned forward, his crystalline face flickering with frustration. You will tell us exactly what your kind is doing. She smiled faintly. We're working. On what? On improvement, she said simply. The same thing we've always done. Outside the council chamber, warships shifted into higher alert orbits. Within human-controlled sectors, factories hummed without pause, producing not mining tools or supply pods, but engines, armor plating, and something else the Imperial intelligence algorithms couldn't classify. The code read as nonsense, yet it occupied every core, spreading faster than viruses, gentler than prayer. Across the colonies, the humans called it the refrain. It began with a pulse, one that matched Evelyn's heartbeat. Every human implant, every compliance band, every safety chip the Empire had forced into their bodies, each one became a note in the same hidden song. In the mining tunnels of Vorkith, Cole felt it first. He froze mid-swing, his pickaxe trembling in his hand. The hum beneath the ground had changed. It wasn't mechanical anymore. It was alive. He turned to the others. You feel that? The woman beside him nodded. It's time. They dropped their tools and walked out, quietly, deliberately, past the alien guards who didn't move to stop them. Every compliance band flashed green, showing perfect obedience. But their eyes burned with purpose. By the time the Empire realized what was happening, it was too late. Reports flooded in. Human labor sectors refusing orders, not with violence, but with precision. Mining shipments rerouted, weapon caches, accidentally, relocated to human-populated moons. AI control hubs reprogrammed to respond to Earthborn encryption. It wasn't rebellion, it was surgery. Every incision made with care, every nerve cut with strategy. Admiral Voss Drax stormed into the command center, plates of his armor still smeared with the dust of his homeworld's dawn. Shut down their implants. He barked. Deactivate every human interface now. Impossible, sir, said his trembling aide. They've rewritten the root access protocols. The humans control the network. Voss's voice broke into a low growl. Then cut them off from the grid. We tried. But the grid, sir, the grid is them. He froze. The realization settled like ash. Humanity wasn't hacking the Empire. They were the hack. Meanwhile, Evelyn stood aboard her personal transport orbiting Earth's moon, home again for the first time in years. Below her, the planet glowed like a memory half-healed. The oceans shimmered with the faint outlines of orbital shadows, defense rings disguised as atmospheric mirrors. Madam Ambassador, said her aide, a quiet young technician whose ancestors once mined sulfur for the Empire. The consul demands immediate explanation. They're threatening sanctions. Evelyn looked up from her cup. Threatening sanctions, she repeated softly. How very merciful of them. Should we respond? She nodded. Of course. With our usual courtesy. Her transmission was brief. Dear council members, she began. You misunderstand our intentions. Humanity is loyal. Humanity is patient. Humanity is thorough. You asked for our labor. We gave it. You demanded obedience. We complied. You sought control. And we provided it. She paused, her tone sharpening by a degree that chilled even the airwaves. You should have read the fine print. Moments later, the Imperial core worlds began to dim. One by one, orbital systems blinked offline. Automated defenses turned inward, mistaking their masters for intruders. The Empire's communications grid melted into static, every channel flooded by a single human phrase, "We are awake." On Vorkith, Threx watched as the sky itself shimmered red. The human workers stood on the ridges, looking upward, their faces illuminated by reflected fire. "What are you doing?" he demanded, voice shaking. Cole turned to him, smiling almost kindly. "You ever seen a sunrise, Threx? This isn't a sunrise, it's annihilation." Cole's eyes softened. For us, they're often the same thing. At that moment, the mine's central reactor began to glow. But instead of detonating, it transformed. The walls reshaping, merging, the energy redirected into a pattern that looked almost deliberate. The refrain had rewritten the planet's infrastructure. Across the galaxy, human-built devices turned into something else entirely. Engines that didn't need fuel, ships that grew from nanite scaffolds, data streams that sang in human voices. The Empire's technology was being reimagined from the inside out. Admiral Voss stood before the burning projection of the Imperial crest, his jaw trembling. "What do they want?" From the shadows, the insectal aide whispered. "Maybe not what we think." "Speak!" Voss roared. "They're not conquering," the aide said. "They're correcting." Evelyn appeared once more before the council, not in person, but as a projection 10 meters tall, her expression composed, illuminated by the soft blue of Earthlight. "You mistook our silence for surrender," she said. "You mistook our work for compliance. But while you ruled, we learned. We studied your hierarchies, your fears, your dependencies. And we realized something terrible, something you should have realized long ago." She leaned forward, voice quiet, almost tender. "Slavery isn't sustainable. Not for the masters." The consul slammed a hand against the table. "You will dismantle whatever weapon you've built, or..." "Or what?" Evelyn interrupted softly. "You'll enslave us again?" The consul hesitated, crystalline features fracturing under internal light. "You're playing with extinction, human." Evelyn's smile flickered, fading into something mournful. "You already wrote that story. We're just revising the ending." Her image disappeared. Then came the silence, the kind that preceded storms and ended eras. On countless worlds, humans stopped working. They stood in their factories, their mines, their orbiting docks, eyes raised to the stars. They didn't chant or cheer. They simply waited. Aboard his flagship, Voss ordered a fleet mobilization. But half his ships refused to launch. Their navigation systems had been replaced by human-coded AIs. They displayed a single message on every command screen, awaiting permission from Earth. On Earth's surface, Evelyn walked through the reconstructed halls of the United Nations complex, now glowing with hybrid architecture. Stone meeting light, humanity meeting its next version. She placed her palm on a glass wall showing the distant galaxies she once feared. "Are we free now?" her aide asked softly. She considered the question. "Freedom," she said, "isn't something we ask for anymore." Before the aide could reply, the ground trembled slightly, an ancient vibration reborn. Somewhere far above, Imperial fleets began to move again, but not toward Earth. Their coordinates had shifted, targeting unknown regions of the galaxy. The aide turned pale. "They're retreating?" Evelyn's eyes hardened. "No," she whispered. "They're running." Outside, the night sky lit with streaks of fire, as the Empire's proud ships fled from the very laborers they'd once owned. Humanity, calm and waiting, watched them vanish into the dark. In orbit, the moon's shadow pulsed once, an immense signal radiating outward like a heartbeat, synchronizing every hidden fleet, every coded AI, every human outpost across the stars. The message was brief, clear and final. Phase 2 authorized. And in the stillness that followed, the galaxy learned the difference between silence and mercy. The galaxy burned quietly. Not with flame, but with the silence of systems gone dark, entire constellations blinking out as if the universe itself were ashamed to witness what came next. In the great vacuum between dying stars, the remnants of the Galactic Empire gathered, their fleets fractured and trembling. Broadcasts no longer carried commands, only static and rumor. One name whispered through the noise like a prayer and a curse: Carter. On Earth, beneath a gray sky cut by orbital shadows, Evelyn stood on a platform overlooking the Atlantic. The ocean shimmered with lattices of light, energy conduits spanning continents. Where ships once launched, now rose quiet towers that reached toward the heavens. She wore black, not for mourning, but for memory. Behind her, a single voice broke the wind. "They've surrendered 3 sectors," said her aide, the same young technician who once trembled at the idea of rebellion. "Their envoys are requesting negotiation." Evelyn didn't turn. Negotiation implies equality. "They claim they're desperate." She finally faced him. "Good. Desperation makes civilizations honest." Above them, The human flagship Liberty's end hung against the stratosphere, its surface pulsing faint blue, breathing like a living thing. Inside its command chamber, hundreds of officers monitored the evacuation of alien civilians from captured worlds. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Humans were saving the very species that had enslaved them. Evelyn boarded the shuttle without a word. The aide followed, unsettled by her calm. "Where are we going?" "To end the conversation." Hours later, the shuttle docked at the Imperial Core Station, a hollowed relic orbiting a dying sun. Once, it had been the throne of arrogance, its halls flooded with light and applause. Now, only ghosts and flickering holograms remained. The High Consul waited in the council chamber, his crystalline skin dimmed to a cracked opacity. When Evelyn entered, he bowed his head, the gesture both humble and broken. "Ambassador Carter," he rasped. "Or should I say, Commander?" She smiled faintly. "Titles are temporary. Consequences are not." The consul gestured to the hologram between them, a map of the galaxy, bleeding red from the outer rim inward. "You've won. You've dismantled everything we built. Yet your people still advance. What more do you want?" Evelyn studied the map, her reflection shimmering across the destruction. "We want understanding." He laughed bitterly. "Understanding? You've turned empathy into an extinction event." "Empathy," she said softly, "was the first weapon you handed us." He froze, unsure if she was accusing or confessing. Evelyn stepped closer, her boots echoing in the cavernous hall. "When you enslaved us, you didn't just take our freedom, you took our restraint. You taught us how control feels. And we learned that whoever defines mercy, defines power." The consul's eyes dimmed further. "You speak like a god." "No," she said. "Like someone who survived one." Outside the chamber, alarms began to wail, Imperial sensors detecting movement across the void. The aide turned, reading the data feed. "Madame, something's entering the system." A vast shadow emerged from hyperspace, a fleet unlike any before. It wasn't Imperial. It wasn't human. It was both. Tens of thousands of ships, sleek and seamless, glowing with the hybrid light of Terran steel and alien crystal. They didn't fire. They waited. The consul stared at the display in horror. "What are those?" Evelyn watched the horizon beyond the viewport. "The children of your technology," she murmured. "And the memory of our pain." "Dear gods," he whispered. "You've created a machine of judgment." She turned to him, eyes steady. "No. I've created balance." The aide stepped forward. "Commander, if we activate the fleet fully, there will be no empire left, no anything left." Evelyn's voice was almost tender. "There hasn't been an empire for a long time. Only denial wearing a crown." The consul sank to his knees. "You'll kill billions." Her expression didn't harden, it softened, unbearably so. "I'll free them from the idea that they were untouchable." The chamber lights flickered. Across the galaxy, the refrain pulsed one final sequence, each note resonating through space, a chorus of heartbeats woven into code. Every enslaved implant, every corrupted ship, every silenced world joined in harmony. It wasn't destruction. It was translation. The energy surged not outward but inward, collapsing the Empire's infrastructure into light. Whole planets glowed for a moment, then dimmed into peaceful dark. The aide covered his face. "They're gone." Evelyn didn't answer. She stood perfectly still, her silhouette framed by the dying sun. "Not gone," she said quietly. "Rewritten." The consul lifted his head weakly. "You've become what you hated." Her gaze drifted toward the viewport, where the hybrid fleet shimmered like a reflection of infinity. "No," she said. "We became what you made possible. We just did it better." He tried to rise, failed, then whispered. "And what becomes of you, Carter? The woman who ended civilizations in the name of compassion." She looked down at him, the faintest trace of sorrow crossing her face. "Every species needs its monster. Today, I'm yours." He closed his eyes and his crystalline form fractured, collapsing into shards that scattered like glass dust. The aide stared at her, voice trembling. What do we do now? Evelyn turned from the empty throne. We rebuild. But this time, not as conquerors. As reminders. Reminders of what? That mercy is only holy when it's mutual. They walked together through the ruined hall, the sound of distant thunder following them. Outside, the hybrid fleet began to disperse, each vessel taking position over what remained of the Empire's core worlds. Instead of bombardment, they released beams of soft blue light, repairing atmospheric shields, healing oceans, rebuilding infrastructure. It wasn't vengeance. It was domination redefined as stewardship. News spread faster than fear. On surviving worlds, aliens emerged from shelters to see human vessels distributing food, repairing homes, restoring energy grids. Some wept openly. Others knelt, not out of worship but recognition. The masters had been humbled, the slaves had become the saviors, and the universe had learned a lesson written in grief and grace. Back aboard Liberty's End, Evelyn returned to the command bridge. The stars outside were quiet again. She reached for her cup of coffee, cold now, and took a sip anyway. Her aide stood beside her, still stunned. "They'll call you the destroyer of empires." She smiled faintly. "Titles are temporary." "What will they call us?" "Humans," she said simply. Finally, the word means something. Silence filled the bridge. Only the hum of the ship remained, a low, steady pulse, like the universe taking a breath after holding it too long. Then the screens flickered. A transmission, faint but clear, reached them from the outer colonies. It was a voice, alien, distorted, terrified. "They're coming," it said. "Something beyond the rim. Not human. Not us. Something watching." Evelyn froze mid-sip. "Put it through." The signal crackled again, this time stronger. A deep resonance filled the cabin, layered and cold, like a choir made of whispers. It spoke in every language at once. "We have observed your correction. Now we must correct you." The aide's eyes widened. "Who? What is that?" Evelyn set the cup down slowly, her reflection shimmering in the dark glass. "Looks like the universe noticed we got too loud." Outside, the stars flickered, not dying this time, but rearranging. The cosmos shifted, constellations warping as though something vast moved behind them. The fleet's sensors overloaded, registering a presence that defied measurement. Evelyn's voice, calm as ever, cut through the rising panic. "Prepare the fleet. Humanity just graduated." And as the command echoed through the ship, the final human transmission rippled across the galaxy. A simple, human phrase that carried humor, defiance, and wonder all at once. Round 2.